Well, I mean, this is our first coaching call, and I guess Nicole and I both knew that this was going to be a little bit more informal. We're still getting all of our clients and all of our masterminds used to Slack. That's been pretty successful in the last month. So we know that this coaching call is going to be the next part, getting them used to coming in, knowing, getting used to the times every month. What we're going to try to be consistent on what time of day it is and which Tuesday it's going to be. If it's going to stick to Tuesday, we know that consistency is the key to that. So right now we're doing it in webinar format where we'll have panelists and all the people are going to come in as attendees. So you guys will come in as, I'm speaking to you, the masterminds right now, you'll come in as attendees with your cameras off as well as with your mics off. But if there's a moment that you have a question or you want to have your mic turned on and turn your camera on, just like Brian did.
We want to. I ran away.
We want to encourage. Yeah, we want to encourage that, and all you have to do is write a message in the chat, in the Zoom chat, and say, "Hey, Matt, I have a question. I don't mind coming on mic." I think that's so much more engagement. We're really starting to form this community, so we want to start putting faces to names and start people seeing your faces and hearing your voices. So all I do is just go in and I'll request you to turn your mic on. I just have to give that permission in Zoom. So just give me that quick chat message, and that's how it will work in the future meetings. Before I wanted to do like this big Brady Bunch thing where it's 50 people, but I think we all get overwhelmed by that. So that will be that format, and every week it will be recorded. So obviously this is most of the time for this week, most of you are watching this as a recording because we haven't shown you guys the full value of what this is, but that's going to be Nicole and Brian's job here in the next the next hour or so to show you the value of this. So next month, I want to see some big numbers. I'm expecting 100 people.
And really, guys, it's going to be driven by some of the feedback that we're getting as coaches. And again, Brian has the benefit of doing these practice evaluations where he's boots on the ground on site in the clinics and seeing some of the problem areas that people struggle with. And it's not unique to the places that he's been. We hear this, over and over again, some of the issues that come up because they're very common. So those are the items that we'd like to tackle. So the format is going to be, we'll bring up 2 topics of conversation every week. And that'll again be driven by what we're hearing the problem areas are. But then this is really for you guys. So we value your time. We know your time is like the most precious commodity that you have. So the fact that you're showing up, we really appreciate that. And we want to acknowledge and answer any of the questions that you have or any of the scenarios you have. And really, the questions should be not the ones that you can throw up on Slack and, we can, bang out an answer very quickly. It's more the things that, like this personnel management, where we can role play out some different scenarios, or, you can kind of throw some curveballs of how to handle different things that you're up against in your particular clinic. So really, that is the purpose of these scenarios. And the reason why we've kind of migrated to this platform versus the one-on-one coaching, which we still do, is because, again, we're hearing a lot of the same common problems. And we know that everybody can benefit from some of the coaching that we provide. So that's really what we're trying to do, is make it more accessible to the MEG community. Because if you're struggling with something, the chances that somebody else is struggling with the same problem is high.
Yes. I know I'm not going to get a lot of say in this meeting with you guys, and I even might turn my camera off, but I do want to say one great thing I saw in the Slack channel is, and just to jump on her point there, somebody posted a question in the Slack channel, and I think they're out of New York, and then somebody that lived about 90 miles away, another MEG Academy client, answered the question, had a solution within minutes, and next thing you know, he was sending her his phone number in order to have a call during lunchtime to discuss the solution before we even had to step in and provide that solution. So we were connecting these 2 people within 30 minutes. And me and Nicole were like, this is exactly why we wanted the Slack channel. We wanted to open up this community, people, and get them all connected. So that was just a big deal for me when I saw that happen and saw that communication between the 2 clients.
Yeah, we know environment plays a huge part in things, and where you're at in the country is very unique to how things go. So to have people that we can draw from in similar parts of the country is just invaluable. Brian, you're going to say something. Go ahead.
I've been quiet for a long time.
I know, this is like the best.
Yeah. Matt, I really want you to stay on. I want the public to know, as we do these monthly forums and as we go through the Slack channel, I think it's very worth noting that Matt had a lot to do with the development of our company evolving to this level so that we could take our community participation to the next level. And this is the highest level of participation you can imagine. We've got a monthly forum where we can open on mic and have this open dialogue. To Nicole's point, everything that's discussed here should be something that's dialogue worthy, right?
Yeah.
If it's Q&A worthy, please drive it to the Slack channel. We are doing our absolute best to become the Google of physical therapy. And that was my latest podcast, is how can we become more the Google of physical therapy? And I can't say enough about it's Nicole and Matthew's brainchild to have developed this Slack channel, to have developed this monthly forum. So it's all for you. So I think you should get used to the three of us. And Matt always surprises me with his unique perspective. And I think it's because he's not a therapist. Yeah. And it's because he is dealing with both the technical, the admin, the perception, the PR. I mean, he's across the entire spectrum of what you guys are dealing with, and he has an unbiased viewpoint on it. He doesn't have that clinical slant. So this is really valuable to you. So I want to keep all three of us on these on a regular monthly basis. I think we're going to add more value. So, but you know, Nicole is the queen of video. So I'm just going to make this her show. So she'll lead it, she'll enter it, she'll run it, she'll open it, and over to you, Nicole.
Yeah. And at any time, please populate those questions in the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if you, I don't know, can we have them turn their videos on? Up to you. However you want to get our attention, just throw those questions up there. We do want to answer those questions, but the two topics that we have today are in the area of recruiting and hiring. And in particular, I want to discuss the importance of the close of the 5-phase hiring process, because I do think that part, I have found, tends to get skipped over or redesigned or done a different way. And I think a lot of opportunities go by because it's not done the way that, you know, we specifically have it laid out. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then the other thing that we're going to talk about is front desk management. And Brian's going to talk a little bit about the mindset of the front desk and what, you know, kind of the mindset that they should take on. So recruiting and hiring, Brian, I'm going to start out by saying, you're the one who developed this 5-phase hiring process. Yep. Why is every step so critical? Why is every phase so critical?
Let's talk about that, because this is the most important thing in terms of building and scaling and expanding your practice, right? You're not going to do it alone. You're going to need talented people. Let me just get this one admin thing out of the way. So Matt, I opened up the chat box. I have it in the bottom right of my screen. Is that what you want us to do, is keep the chat box open so people can just write into the chat, or you're going to you're going to replay the chats? You're going to repost you're going to ask the questions? How are you doing that?
Yeah, if any of the attendees want to ask a question just via chat, they can go ahead and just open the chat bubble at the bottom of your screen. You'll see chat, click on that, and then you can type your message to us. Or if you want to ask your question via mic or turn your camera on and be part of this and open forum, we're willing to have that. Just right in there, I'm willing. I have a question. I can turn my mic on, and then I'll just work my magic and get your mic turned on for you. It's just going to be a request from me, and you'll say yes.
And I also see that option down below, raise your hand. So if they raise their hand, does that mean they're going to go live and you're going to put them in?
If you guys hit raise hand, then I'm going to assume you want to get your mic turned camera on. So I'm going to start requesting.
Okay, good. So it's really easy. Click raise hand. You're going to go live and dialogue with us. If you just want to write your chat in there, go ahead and write your chat in. So I just want to make sure we covered that. So Nicole, where did this all come from? I don't know how many of you guys might remember, because, you know, I've told my story a lot of times, but sometimes I leave this part out. I don't know why. But in 1997, when I actually started in business, my actual first business was called Gateway Health Services. And Gateway Health Services was a staffing company. And so I was hiring other clinicians out of the third bedroom of my house to run around and do home health and service skilled nursing and outpatient clinics. And it just went and went and went. And all, before I knew it, I had 55 contracts and I had 160 employees in 6 clinics. So at that time, we were the largest provider of allied health professionals in our state. We were providing more speech, more OT, and more PTs and PTAs for people who needed it than anywhere else. Well, what did that mean? The result of that was it meant that I needed to be interviewing all the time, 24/7. Never, ever did we not have an ad. Never, ever were we not recruiting. And I looked back at my data and I was averaging between 5 to 7 interviews a week. And that went on for about 3 or 4 years in the peak time. And then it tapered off on the ends. But when I was doing it, it was 3 to 4 years of 5 to 7 interviews a week. And so what I needed to do, I needed to standardize my approach because I needed to maintain control over that experience. So the more knowledge you have, the more responsibility you can take, the more control you can have, and the better results you get. So to Nicole's point, just cutting to the chase, phase one, let's just talk to people over the phone where they're in the comfort of their own home and they can lower their dukes and they can stop putting their best foot forward. And you can just have a social conversation about who they are and what they're looking for in life, right? Number two, let's bring them in. Phase two, let's bring them in for interview day, right? Let's bring them for interview. Let's let them meet the front desk. Let's let them get their application done. Let's get them a tour. Let's leave them alone with another staff member to show how confident we are and what we have to offer. Phase three, let's go ahead and have a
I
formal
want to stop you. We skipped over phase one. That's an ad.
Phase one was the screen.
Ad. No, phase two is the screen.
Phase one's the, what?
Yeah, you skipped over procurement.
All right, so we're going to help Nicole here. So phase one is the ad placement where you ask a question, you stimulate their
I should have
interest.
just waited to see what you did when you got to phase 5.
Phase one is that, and then you do this phone screen, and I roll those two together, unlike what Nicole's talking about. So it's the phone screen and the ad. That's phase one. Then it's interview day. They go around, they come into the application. That's phase two. The interview, phase three. Oh, Nicole's right.
Wait. We get that on recording.
God, it's been a long time since I've talked through it each time. The ad is phase one, the screen is phase two, interview day is phase three.
Those get lumped together.
The interview is phase 4, yeah. And then you go to the close, right? Yeah. And the most important thing on that whole thing is getting to the close. Matthew's like, oh my God, he totally walked right into that. Like you could not have walked into a brick wall harder.
I'm not editing this.
No, you should not, because
that's who we are.
Yeah.
People like it when you have humility, right? So, that was my blunder. So, but the close is your point. And what we're seeing, and I don't know, Nicole, do you think it's a little bit of this post-COVID thing that people are just trying to do? I think they're just making changes because out of convenience of remoteness, don't you?
Yes. And I do feel, because really the way that we train it is the phase 3, 4, and 5 all happen on the same day.
At the same time,
find that we're having a lag between 4 and 5.
Right.
And I think that might be causing some disconnect. So they're coming in doing the interview, but then we're, delaying the offer and, not doing it in person. And I think one of the big issues and the reason why we're bringing this up is we did have a client who lost a candidate and it could be that it just wasn't the best fit, but it seemed like the person was a good fit for the job. So I kind of want to role play that out. If you have somebody, that you think is a good fit, how should that look on the interview day? Okay,
good. So we're going to take this case in point very specifically. And for those of you who experience this, I think you'll relate and hopefully take some notes, and this will help you in being more successful in closing your candidates. So you threw out an ad, you got a bunch of applicants, you work 3 applicants at a time. Always work your top 3 at a time. You bring them in, they do their interview day, they do the formal interview. And so now you're at the tail end of the interview and you're moving into phase 5, the close. Now, this is where we're going to pick it up. Okay. So I've asked them all about them. I've asked them what they actually liked about their last job. What did they like about their future? What didn't they like about their last job? What are they looking to grow into, both professionally and personally? We've had this nice interview dialogue, right? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, Nicole's a good applicant. I think she'd be a good fit for my clinic. Now, this is made up, guys. So Nicole's a good applicant. I think she might be a good fit for the job. So I want to move forward to making it an offer. The reason why I don't want to give her something and have her leave only to come back is you've just cooled down the hot iron, right? She's already come through and stuff. So you want to make sure that she's beating the door down in her attitude. Her attitude is that of beating the door down, wanting to work here. So I'm going to turn, after I've asked some questions, say, well, Nicole, here we go. We're going to take it from here. So we're no longer like MEG people. Nicole's a therapist. I'm looking to fill a position. So I'm going to say, hey, so Nicole, That's it for my questions. Let me just go ahead and ask you, um, based on everything you've seen and experienced here so far, do you see yourself as a fit working inside our clinic?
I mean, yeah, I'm done with the PT mill thing. I mean, I love how you guys give the one-on-one care. I can completely see myself as a fit.
Perfect. Perfect. And to be honest with you, I think you've interviewed very well. I think you've gelled well with the staff. I've really enjoyed spending the time that we've spent together here so far. As you know, our practice is looking to grow and further scale where we are within this clinic, and then expand into another location, which we're already earmarking. And I'd like to bring people along who can grow both with us personally and professionally. So, with that said, what I'd like to do now is, if I could sit and chat with you just 30 minutes more if you have the time. I'd like to know if we can make ends meet both on the parameters of the job, the scope of the position that I have available to you. Would you be able to accept the position here and now today, or by this time tomorrow, like within the next
Yeah.
24 hours? Would there
Yeah.
be anything in your way preventing you from doing that?
No, I mean, I would like to run it by my husband, but aside from that, I'm ready to move forward if
Absolutely.
it works.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I absolutely run things by my wife. It's a life decision, so
Yeah.
I'm in full support of that. And so great. Well, let's go ahead and get started then.
Okay.
So I'm going to get out a blank piece of paper, or I'm going to get out the closing sheet. And you see, Nicole's modified it so you can use it as your, I don't know, what would you call it? Your cheat sheet, Nicole, on
Mhm.
making
Yeah.
the. So you get your closing sheet out and you have it right in front of you, and it's going to say all the things about the employment, the benefits, the pay,
Continuing ed.
yeah, Con Ed and everything, right? So I'm going to go down and say, so this position pays blah, blah, blah. This PTO is this, the health insurance is this. And, we have short term disability with AFLAC. And I'm just going to be very a matter of fact, like this position. Now, this is in this scenario. This case is a veteran therapist, somebody who's been out 10 years, and I'm looking to sign this senior therapist. This is not a new grad, right? So I'm saying the positions, let's say for this talking point, the position that I have available is $80,000. And I went on through the rest of my benefits, which not a lot of it's going to change that much. And I've said, you're going to need to work 2 closing evenings. Everybody should sign on for 2 closing evenings. And I get to the end of my list and I turn it around and I slide it across the table to her side. How does that look for you, Nicole? How does this position look in your eyes?
I mean, the position's great, but it's definitely lower than I thought. I was kind of thinking more like in the neighborhood of 90 to 95, just
Okay.
because I have so much experience and I bring some management, experience with me. And, it's kind of it's a lot lower than what I was getting paid at the
Okay.
other place.
Yeah, and I do recognize that you've had some management experience as a clinical director in the past. And unfortunately, this position is a senior staff therapist position. So it really is all about the level of exchange. We have a pay for performance model, and our model is such, well, if I do that, it's going to screw up the scenario. So let me just do the straight salary, which some people are still stuck on, but you all should be moving to pay for performance. So, well, okay. So the salary position that I'm offering you here is currently 80,000. But what I want you to really understand is when I add up the health insurance, the PTO, the comp, and the Con Ed and whatnot, this is actually turning out to be a $91,000 offering. And let me show you those numbers and how those break out. And so there I go. I write it down. I show and break out. And then I say, in exchange for that, I'm looking for you to be able to do 60 visits a week in a 40-hour work week. If you can do 60 visits a week in a 40-hour work week on 2 nights a week, it really, the math comes out to be 80,000. I understand you'd like to make 90 to 95,000. Tell you what, I am willing to work on some concessions and see what we can do to make this kind of bring this closer together. How about you take 3 nights instead of 2? And in exchange for that, I could easily see how we could go to maybe, let's say 85. How does 85 sound to you? You want, I know you're looking at 90, but it's an extra $98 a week or $96 a week, I think is what it comes out to in my head. I'm thinking. So if I go up 5,000, it's another, maybe math, you can do the math. I think 5,000 divided by, 52 weeks. Didn't mean to challenge you there, Matt. 5,000 divided by 52 weeks. I think it's $96 a week. So that's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm not going to lose this person over $96 a week, right? So I'm like, how's 95, 85 sound for the 3 nights a week? I could see where we could make that work.
I mean, it's still kind of low. What would I have to do to get to 90?
Well, here's what we would do. I would be willing to put into your status sheet that if you come on at 85,000, we would up the review in 6 months. If you're high performing and you're hitting all of your metrics here, I have no problem at the end of 6 months. If you're high performing, hitting all of your metrics, I'll go ahead and adjust your pay 5,000 more because you're a top producer, senior clinician, showing me that you can, but you're going to have to maintain that level for that extra 5,000. And then what happens is when the clinical director position becomes available, we typically bump up the pay by, this is up to you guys who are listening now. You
10.
tell them you bump up the pay 5 to 10,000 for a clinical director. And that's about right. You bump up the pay 5 to 10,000 for a clinical directorship. And they reduce their hours to 36 hours a week treating because they need time to do the clinical directorship. So that's in your future here as well. But, in my head, and to all of you listening, if it's not made, it's not paid. Don't step in it. Don't start promising more compensation and greater level exchange for something that hasn't been generated yet. They haven't even proved themselves yet. They're only talk, right? So I don't have any trouble starting you at 85. I have no trouble in 6 months doing a review. If you're a top performer hitting all your metrics, we'll go to 90. And then of course, I'll bump you up another 5 for clinical directorship, if in fact that comes to be. But if it doesn't come to be, you're going to be right there at 90 being a senior therapist.
So my question is, and so we're, role play done for a second.
Yeah.
Because I'm very much a numbers person, and if we can make the numbers work,
yeah.
At what point is that ROI cutoff where we start negotiating that? Like, how do we know what's too much?
Okay. So ideally, if you're in the good part of the country, Idaho, Utah, Nevada, West Coast, Texas, Carolinas, you want to try to get a 4 ROI on what your package is for your therapist. You want to try and get a 4 ROI. That is currently about 25 to 30% of the clinics in the country are able to do that. That's really hard to do. So how do you make up for that? The average therapist across the United States right now is generating about a 3.5 ROI. Your bottom line cutoff, to Nicole's question, is a 3 ROI. So I don't mind exchanging more in salary or in benefits and making the package bigger as long as I'm above a 3 return on investment. Total dollars going to the client. I don't care if it's going in health insurance. I don't care if it's going in pay. Total dollars going to the employee and total amount of revenue they can generate in their 60 visits per week or whatever your metrics is for your clinic. It has to be a 3 multiple. Now, when you do a PTA, typically you can get a 5 to 6 multiple. So if you're doing what we teach in MEG Academy, establishing PT1, PT2, PTA, and tech, well, there's your team. That seems to be the most economical approach. So you're building teams, right? You're building teams. And that's going to help your ROI greatly. And of course, the pay for performance model that Nicole engineered is fantastic. That's going to help your bottom line on payroll greatly. Because what's the goal here? The goal is to get your clinical payroll. The goal is to get your full company payroll down to 50%. That's the goal. That's the ideal scene. 50% of your total, percentage of your total GI coming in per month should be 50% the payroll. But if you're under 60, you're doing fine. You're doing well enough. And that's my answer to that.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And you guys will see that on that pay for performance model that we've mapped out, in the calculator section. There is that ROI kind of guesstimate. I mean, that's if they consistently are at that. But if you plug your own numbers in of what you get per visit, it's just a mathematical equation. And I think sometimes if you can show that to the candidate, I think that helps too. That transparency of like, hey guys, it's just math. It's not like I'm paying you because I like you more. It's just how it works out. Why are you smirking?
Because I clicked raise my hand. Do you not see my hand raised?
No, it like blends into your background.
Oh, it does blend into my background. I'm gonna have to change my background. Yeah. I just wanted to say, I think a lot of people are probably sitting and maybe they're asking this question in their mind. When you said, we need to get that ROI. People will often ask me, Brian, does that mean ROI based on the salary that you're offering them or the total compensation package? It's really the total compensation package, because it doesn't matter whether you're giving them dollars in health insurance or whether you're giving them dollars in Con Ed or whether you're giving them dollars in their paycheck. It's money leaving your hands going to the employee. So look at the total amount of expense that they're costing the company to be there on a monthly basis, and then see that they're generating that 3 minimum ROI.
Okay.
I'm going to lower my hand.
Any questions on that topic?
I think people may ask, Brian, how do you find really great people when I'm in a rural area? I'm in a market. Yeah. You know what? It's red ocean, man. It's red ocean marketing. And if you haven't read the book, Red Ocean, Blue Ocean Marketing, red ocean is you're going to steal market share from somebody else in your community, right? So the best therapists are employed therapists. You know, when I hired Nicole and she hadn't been working for 6 months and was collecting whatever she was collecting and working whatever she was doing at 7-Eleven,
true story, guys.
I literally thought to myself, man, it would be much better if I could hire a working person. So actually she was a clinical director somewhere else. So she's a good example of, you want to procure somebody who's already winning and successfully winning in an employment scenario. Now, you don't want to go undermining your neighbor and doing things unethical, but you definitely want to put your ads out there where everybody who's in your community who's currently working can see. And here's another little trick. Look for the parts of the country where there's an abundance of PT schools and there's a lot of PTs out walking around, and where there's low reimbursement because there's typically low compensation. Because I'll tell you what, those PTs in Buffalo, those PTs in Jacksonville, Florida, the PTs in Syracuse, up Utica, up there in that New York area, they have just as many student loans as everybody else, and they're getting paid $65,000 a year, $60,000 a year, $70,000 a year. They're getting paid on the lower rung because average reimbursement in that area is about $71 a visit. So market to that area, pay $5,000 relocation, 90 days after they move, of course, and relocate them, pay for it, and then give them a healthy package.
Okay, Kathy has a question. She says that as things are opening up, she's noticing that therapists have multiple offers and hiring is becoming more difficult. Yeah, they started with adding PRN, but those therapists are getting snapped up for full-time and part-time positions. We are not ready, or we don't have the caseload yet to do that. Wonder if others are noticing the same issues.
That's what I was highlighting when I did my what's going on in Brian's world, and Matthew asked me, and I said, between the two coasts going around, I'm finding that finding good, high quality staff members and bringing them aboard is going to be your number one challenge for the next 18 months. So be aggressive. My message is be aggressive. Don't be shy. Be willing to spend money to make money. Kathy, what I would be doing is I would be telling those therapists, I do not want to hire you PRN. I'm going to bring you in on a prorated salary. If you need to do that. And I'm going to give you 25 hours a week on a prorated salary. You're going to get that salary. And then I'm going to scale you up over the next 2 months to a full-time position with benefits, because it's my burden to bring in the additional new business and additional patients that's going to keep you busy. But you got to get out in front of it. So I would heavily think about doing a prorated salary and try to let them know that the future is to grow. The other thing you can do is, if it's appropriate, only if it's appropriate, and they're working between multiple clinics when they come to see you, say, well, I can 1099 you. I can 1099 you. We can get rid of some of this extenuous, this outside expense and just pay you straight out. Now, of course, they got to withhold the dollars on their end, but that may be a good way too, because 1099 appropriately, when it's appropriate fit, that may be a good way to go. But I'm not a fan of PRN. I am not a fan of 1099. I'm not a fan of the, hey, come on in, I'll pay you per visit and let you go home. That's like inviting the redheaded stepchild to come work for you who's not fully invested in your practice. I'm much more willing to spend a little bit more money and take a little loss in the first 90 days of their employment, because I have somebody completely bought into our company culture, going through our policies and procedures, making all of our meetings. I think as an entrepreneur and leader, you have to soak in a little bit more in the beginning to be able to get it back out on the back end. That's my feelings. I'm always willing to take a little loss in the beginning for the right person.
Okay. Kathy said, stop talking now. No, just kidding. She said, makes sense.
Oh, Nicole.
Just kidding.
I find that to be my non-PT side. That's quite interesting. What you said in the beginning, though, is like, we're gonna have to really invest. You might have to pay these guys a little more to be appetizing and to get them in the door and start working, which is unfortunate, but I guess it's
well, I mean, if you've been watching the news, you see McDonald's is offering like $50 for people to come in for a freaking interview.
I go to Wawa, and they used to say $300 to work. They slapped on a Post-it note that's $500. They'll pay, and it's the COVID vaccine incentive. If you show that you've been fully vaccinated, they'll pay you $500.
Wow. Yeah. See, these are just these are unusual times. Yeah. And so temporarily, that's why I said the next 18 months, because going coast to coast, I'm thinking you're going to have to adopt some unusual, not crazy, but slightly unusual tactics. Just like, if it's Wisconsin, it looks like this, and you need to adapt. You may need to adapt a little bit differently. So I think for you owners, be prepared to adapt a little bit. Don't do this though. Please take my word for it. Don't throw money at your problems. Throw opportunity at your potential candidates. Give them greater reason to feel better about working for you than working for somebody. Anybody can write a check. Anyone can throw money. That doesn't make for good children.
Yeah. And show them when you, in line with that opportunity thing. I mean, this pay for performance is just that. If you want to make this amount, then you can do that. It's attainable.
I love it more so, not just for the earnings of the employee, but I love it more so for the fact that it's so encompassing of quality, efficiency, and productivity. It speaks to the three legs of a stool that you absolutely need for the strong foundation. I absolutely love the pay for performance model. And I think it's going to be what's going to be. I think that's all that's going to be in 5 years. I don't think anyone's going to be on salary and benefits in 5 years. And if they are, it's a dinosaur. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's shift gears a little bit if we don't have any more questions on the hiring and recruiting topic.
Oh, one other thing. Let's just throw out one more tip.
Okay.
The CARES Act. The CARES Act, section 2206, right? See, now Nicole was like laughing at me. Now she's like, oh yeah, good idea, Brian. CARES Act 2206, you can contribute up to $5,200 towards their tuition, their student loans. Take full advantage of this. This is unheard of. Again, unusual times, think out of the box. Say, hey, I'm going to bring you on for $85,000, but get this, instead of me pumping $5,000 more into the salary, I'm going to pick up $5,000 of your student loans. And these are pre-tax dollars. It's good for them. It's good for you. It's good for the business. It shows, you're investing in them. You're empowering their education. So by all means, take full advantage of that.
And get maybe a 2-year commitment on that.
Oh yeah.
Get more time out of them, because I think that's the other thing is you don't want to get somebody on and have them jump ship after a year. You invest a lot of time, energy, and effort and money into getting them trained and getting them onboarded and getting them, rolling. So make sure, you have systems in place that'll help keep them there.
And also, again, talking about systems in place, use MEG. Leverage MEG Academy. You're like, look, I paid thousands of dollars for MEG Academy to be sitting right here. It's my own LMS. I own all of this technology. As a result of you working with me for the next 2 to 3 years, you are going to grow as a physical therapist professional in ways you will never get down the street through your participation in MEG Academy, as well as your clinical experience. Those two things, your education and experience, that's the definition of expert. An expert is somebody who has a high level education with a high level of experience smashed together. And that's what makes you an expert. So use MEG Academy saying, I already bought it for you. I'm going to open up a user for you. I am literally going to get you to understand everything about charging, coding, marketing, treatment, all that good stuff.
So education and experience.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
I've got a response to that. Let me just get my delayed response to that.
Oh no, here it comes.
So
here it comes. Wait for it, folks.
I don't know. I'm thinking more like, you're pirating this whole idea to yourself.
Oh
that's more like what we're going on to.
Yeah, that is the daddest dad joke I've ever seen.
Okay. So just bring me back to some reality. So
God.
Really? Let's get moving.
I got to bring this back.
It's all your fault.
Okay. So the next topic is going to be the front desk management. And you brought this to my attention recently, Brian, because I think a lot of it has to do with mindset. So we have like owner mindset, but we also have the mindset of all of our employees. And I think it's important to provide training to have them each, establish the right mindset for
Yeah,
success.
and I think you're right. I think one of the compliments we get when we're talking to the practices that have 100 clinics, or we had somebody on our lines that had 400 clinics. Recently, we talked to a group that has 90 clinics. And what are they most looking for MEG Academy? Why are they most attracted to us? They're most attracted to us because we have those soft personnel management skills really locked down. And we grant beingness to other people very easily. We know how to communicate to achieve common agreement, because you all know you can't manage over disagreement, right? So what your job is, your task is to really know your staff and really know where they're coming from. And why are they thinking the way they're thinking? Why are they saying the things that they're saying? Why do they feel the way they do? So that's what Nicole's getting at. Like, we know, for those of you on this call, for those of you watching this right now, that you're in the top 10%, because only the top 10% of people can ever truly start something from nothing and create something such as a business, right? The other 90% of the world population follows those leaders, right? Which is fine. That's not a bad thing. There's great middle managers, great executives, great senior people that do what they do. But true entrepreneurs are rare. So you got to get outside your head and think about what's actually being said to you. So recently I was in a clinic and I was working with the owner, and the front desk staff person throughout the morning part of the day, the front desk coordinator was saying to me, well, yeah, and I went ahead and I took these things home and I did this at home on my own time. And I was like, okay, I logged that in my head. And then a few minutes later, hour later, whatever. Oh, well, I work really hard on this. I brought some extra training to the table on the spreadsheet, and I actually knew how to do this. And so I worked extra hours and I put this in. And so by lunchtime, I'm thinking, this person just keeps taking every opportunity she has to bring to impressing me. I'm the outside coach in her clinic. And so, let's show Brian, right? And they're trying to show me how much she's doing on her own time, how much she stayed longer, how much she worked so hard on it. She's working harder and longer and investing her own time. So, in the afternoon, I sat with the owner. I said, so we need to have you guys alter your communication with your front desk staff member. And he and his partner said, well, how so? I said, well, your front desk coordinator, and for many of you, I think this is going to be true. Your front desk coordinator is valuing her self-worth as a member of your team based on time and effort, based on time. And that's a very blue collar mentality. The harder I work, the better employee I am. The longer I'm here, the more time I put in, the better you should see me. You should see me in a higher light. And the white collar mentality isn't that at all. I want to value you based on the quality and the proficiency in which you work. Are you efficient and productive? And our products rolling off the line that are just super, super polished and great, and I don't have to go double check your work? Is the quality there? I don't have to have any attention on. So all changing the mindset of your front desk coordinator from this exchanging time for money and hard work and effort for self-worth to quality, proficiency, efficiency, products. That's the shift. You have the responsibility to communicate, and you have to reward them and acknowledge them and validate them based on those accomplishments, not on the fact that they put extra time in or extra effort. That isn't going to help you necessarily, because that's just going to be a revolving door. You need to get them to up their game. And that, hence MEG Academy. That's why you have an LMS, because you're trying to increase the skills of your employee, not just the bright ideas.
Yeah, I just recently listened to a podcast, Brian. I mentioned this to you, but
Right.
I thought it was really enlightening, and I'll share it on Slack. But one of the points that was made was, you have to learn not just what to think, but you have to learn how to think. And I think that this applies to the front desk as well. Like, we don't want just a robot up there just kind of going through the motions. You want to give them the skills to kind of be a dynamic thinker and empower them and recognize their strengths and play up their strengths. And, their weaknesses you can kind of groom as you go along. So I think that as a leader, that's your responsibility, to help your front desk grow both personally and professionally.
Yeah. And I'll give you a little interviewing tip for those of you who are hiring front desk coordinators and you're trying to bring somebody on. One of the things I always say, I've never left it out. I always say, so what is it that you're looking for in the next position that you get accepted for, that you take on? And they'll tell you, da, 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 da. And I say, okay, that's really great. I said, I can tell you what we're looking for is we're looking for somebody who's going to come in here and work our front desk as a professional. I'm not looking for somebody who's going to come here and work it as a job. 7-Eleven is a job. You come in, you punch out, you get your hours, you get your pay. That's a job. And there's fine. People want to do that. But I'm not looking for that here. I'm looking for somebody who wants to increase their mental acuity, increase their sphere of influence, increase the positive impact they're having on others, because this front desk is extremely dynamic in the fact that you are literally going to meet and greet every single patient that comes through this door. And you are going to have one of the largest impacts on those people's lives in terms of how their day-to-day is going. And we're going to coach you. We're going to invest in you. We're going to role play with you. We're going to enable you to make this your profession. And I very much want this to be for, and even if you plan on going to school and becoming a lawyer or something down the road, in this unit of time of the next 12 to 18, 24 months before you do embark on that next career shift, you're going to have gained the professionalism of this position. And you're going to take that patient care, accountability and being an advocate. You're going to take that with you. You're going to be that patient care advocate with you. That's going to apply to everything you do. And their eyes just light up like, wow, this is more than what I thought. And that's exactly the impact you have to have on the interview when you're interviewing a front desk coordinator person. And also look for, second tip, look for their speed of response. When I talk to Nicole or I talk to Matthew, I ask a question, I get a quick answer. When somebody has to, not sure, they're either trying to make something up to give you the right answer you're looking for, or they don't have a half a noodle and they're just not quite tracking with you. So not to be mean or, I know it's Snowflake Town up in Madison where Nicole is, and you can't talk like that, but I'm just giving it to you straight. As an owner, you got to hire the best and the brightest. And sometimes those indicators are not indicating the brightest.
But
be choosy.
Sometimes best and brightest don't come with the long resume of experience.
Exactly.
So keeping an open mind and saying, okay, you don't have the experience in a PT clinic, but you have other experiences that should translate well into being coachable and allowing us to onboard you and give you all the tools and equip you with the experience. Because I really feel like personality supersedes your, skill set coming in. We can train you on the skills you need.
Yeah, beingness over doing this, right? Always trumps. Yeah.
I would say always try to find somebody that, you're going to have a new front desk coordinator come in and they're going to learn all your current systems. But then their job is to learn your current system. But then their job really is to find solutions that make those systems even better, more efficient. And if you can, it's just like Slack here's for us. I'm like, we can create a Slack channel for our members to talk to each other. That was my idea. I brought to Nicole and Brian. I pitched it like 2 or 3 times. And then all of a sudden they just said, just do it. Let's do it. Let's get it up and running. And it's working. But I could have sat back on my laurels. We could have kept the Facebook page. They would have been happy with it. I came with them with an idea. I saw a system. I said, I think it could be better. And I'll be honest, the front desk coordinators that you're hiring right now are going to be around my age, 25 to 35 years old.
I thought you were going to say 12.
Yeah, 12.
I was like, where's he going with this?
Around my age, 12.
I'm a leap year birth. No, I don't care. So I just look for somebody that's going to, show them that they're going to not only learn your systems, but they have the opportunity to provide value. And you're going to value their insight and their recommendations to make their jobs more efficient, and that the system, and they want to be part, when they go out with their friends, they want to say, well, where do you work? I work for MEG Business Management, and what do I get to do there? I don't just punch the card and say, oh, it's 5 o'clock, I'm leaving. I do my daily task, but then I'm always researching. I'm always like listening to podcasts, looking up websites, looking for other systems and tech and stuff that can make our jobs easier and more, Brian loves tech. So I always try to find something cool to show him. I just bought him a new wireless mic, so he hasn't had a chance to use it yet. But
I've got it over there.
But my goal in that is to make his life easier as the owner. So you want to find people and surround your people, especially front desk, that can do that for you. So the owner can worry about being the owner, not worry about if my front desk coordinator is doing the job that they're hired to do.
And in return, they should know that I'm going to hire you. And whenever it is that you leave, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, you are going to leave better than when you came in. You're going to be more skilled, more equipped to do whatever job it is that you're taking on next. than you did coming in. So
Absolutely.
we owe that to them.
You know, if you can look your employee, the person who you're interviewing, you can look them in the face and you can say, look, it's my desire as the CEO of this company to make sure that in the next 1 to 2 to 3 years that you look back at this decision today and you say, this was one of the best decisions I ever made because I not only grew professionally, I also grew personally. And you commit yourself to seeing that employee grow both personally and professionally. You're going to have a wonderful company culture. And Matt is 100% right. He doesn't just come in and do his job. He thinks routinely, how do I actually make this position better? How do I actually make the functionality of what we're trying to do work better? And I'll tell you, he did bring up the Slack channel and it didn't really click with me until he told me we could get rid of Facebook. And once we could get rid of FaceBrag and go right to Slack, I was like, I am all down with that because Zuckerberg could go do whatever the heck he wants to do out there. But I'm glad I don't have to be playing his game. So let's just get into Slack. And I was all into that. I was like, that is great. And the fact that it's 24/7 and people are talking, Matt was the mastermind behind that. But that's what you want your front desk person to do. And Nicole stated something too, standard operating procedures, SOPs. You know what? When you have 6 offices like I had, one of the biggest struggles back then was why can't my 6 front desk staff people do the check-in and the patient registration, insurance verification the same? I'm thinking I'm training them all the same, but you're not. You got 6 different offices. You got different people doing the hatting and onboarding, whatever, and it's inconsistent. That inconsistency costs you time and money. But if you can use your LMS and your onboarding so everyone's coming on post the same way every time, you've eliminated that variable. So let your staff members know that's what you have, because based on survey, one of the most uneasy things, one of the main reasons why people leave a job is because they feel the place of employment is disorganized. It's unorganized. I don't feel comfortable. I feel like I'm told one thing one day, another thing another day. I'm held to this standard at one time. I'm held to that standard at another time. It drives the employee crazy, and they'll look for another job where it's more stable. It's just more, they have more confidence. I keep telling Nicole on her farm up there in Wisconsin, it's 12 eggs a morning. You got to bring in at least 12 eggs every morning before you can start your MEG job.
You're going to have a bunch of angry farmers heading down to Florida to hunt.
Hey, I grew up on a farm. I can talk about farm.
You don't want to mess with those people.
Yes.
I think I live the closest to a farm among the 3 of us right now.
You probably do.
I don't know. I have one around the corner.
Very farm about a half a mile away. So
yeah. Well, I live the closest to a pirate ship because the pirate ship goes by the Clearwater Bay here just about every afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Okay, we're digressing again. I do want to say, because I think we can start to wrap it up here. If there's any other questions, I know we went a little bit long on our topics today, but we knew that we would probably have low enrollment on the first day, but we do encourage you to attend because we do love these like live, be on our toes, active role plays that you just throw at us. And we're happy to do it with any situation that you bring to our attention. So if you're not comfortable doing it on camera, if you want to just shoot me a scenario, prior to the next coaching forum. I forgot I was going to say Zoomcast, but we will handle those live in our next one. So it'll be every month, and it'll be like, what do we say? The second Tuesday of every month is what we're looking. So we're going to space it nicely with the Zoomcast, so they won't kind of overlap too much. We do have a question from Kathy. What is a typical hourly rate for an front desk coordinator?
In the Washington, D.C. area, you're looking at about $18 right now. The reason why the federal government's made the minimum up to 15. So, FDCs were normally 14 to 16, but given the recent, again, we're in unusual times, right? There's no justification for all these changes. They're just doing it, right? So you're looking around 17 to 18, 19. Once you start getting in the low 20s, you really need somebody who's in management. So if people are sitting there hitting you at the low 20s, 22, 23, 24, which they may be coming in asking for that, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to bring you in. But guess what? You're going to have more responsibilities than just answering the phone and doing patient registration. That's because you're competing with what your market is delivering. And if you're going to have to compete with that, the only advice I have with you is throw the money down because you're at market neutral, but increase the responsibility and accountability for the individuals that are getting that. That's
I can
about the
see
best
that.
thing you can do.
And
I can see that. I can see that Kathy being 20.
Yeah.
Kathy's in Northern Virginia too. So we're talking
Well,
about
Northern Virginia is not even the Maryland side of DC, which is totally different, right?
we all know, Kathy, how that works.
Consider some other tech that, you know, maybe you don't depend so much on a front desk.
You could go virtual.
Raxia.
You could just go virtual. You don't even need
that's
somebody
more
there.
like virtual front desk, meaning the check-in and like the collections and everything. So Matthew, can you put that link up there, Raxia?
We have a clinic. We have a clinic owner, Kathy, who has 6 clinics, and she doesn't have anybody at the front desk, and it's all iPad. It's all tablet.
I think we're doing good here. I think I know, Nicole, you have an upcoming Zoom cast, and we're kind of maybe focusing on front desk corner. I do logistically want to jump in here for everybody watching recording. Just a reminder, next month that we do this, I will still do the same format. I can't track if you guys RSVP because I think it's easier to give you the link, but we will post in the announcement channel in Slack the week before, the day before, and the day of the actual link. So look for it's a 3rd channel down called announcements. And I also have been emailing. So if you haven't gotten an email, please email matthew@megbusiness.com, or you can go to direct message in Slack and message me. Let me know that you couldn't find this recording or anything. I want to make sure I get everybody the opportunity to come in here, and the recordings will be posted in the announcement channel in Slack either tonight or early tomorrow morning within 24 hours. So I'm just really excited to get more people in here next month. That's my say.
And I think that's great, Matt. And I think that's very well organized. One question to you, Matt, are you able to see everybody who attended today? Are you able to see all the attendees?
Yeah, it does. Zoom does track everybody.
Track the attendees. That's good.
I just took the barrier off of the registration.
Yeah, I like that. I don't want the less admin for you guys to go through, our listeners to go through, the better. And Nicole, I think you hit the nail on the head as we were conversing before we got on today. We're out in front here. Personnel and paying for the right people and training the right people is going to be a huge stumbling block for a lot of people for the next 18 months until things settle down. I do think we need to really focus on this, and we need to bring some more innovative strategies, just like we were talking about, leveraging MEG Academy and things like that. So I'd like to put some more time into putting our thoughts down and really sharing it with the group. So maybe we can do that in your Zoomcast.
Yeah, we have to be fluid in how we maneuver here. So I appreciate you guys taking the time with us today, because again, we know you're all very busy. So thank you for your participation, and we will hold on, one more question.
Look,
like the increased responsibility idea. Okay, perfect. You're welcome, Kathy. Thank you guys for your participation and your attention today, and we'll be looking forward to next month.
We're looking forward to that. And if anybody has any ideas on podcasts, please email me directly at Brian, BRIAN @MEGbusiness. I am always looking for ideas that I can help you with. So just go ahead and write those in. I have a good one for the next one. But
all right,
send them in.
Okay. Signing off.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.